It all starts here. One among millions.
I'm sure many of us have asked the same question. Why aren't there more games where you get to play as jizz? Become is a pretty unique third-person mini-adventure in which you play as a single sperm, negotiating the myriad hazards of the human reproductive system to win the race to kickstart life, while trying to avoid being wanked out into a sock. Along your journey, you'll be able to power up your single-minded swimmer, collecting sugars and proteins to improve your speed and strength. You can even customize your look, making sure you go on to create only the most handsome of fetuses. The developers confirm that there is no nudity or sexually explicit content anywhere in the game. It's all about wiggling, hopping, pushing and penetrating inner space style, supposedly teaching us how the reproductive world works in broad strokes. Who knows, perhaps Become will prove to be a useful tool for awkward teachers as they look to explain the birds and the bees to school children. It can't be any worse than the hairy family from the VHS sex ed tapes of the 80s staring in confusion at each other's tits.
You become.
What the fuck is this? Were they holding people here? It looks like a sci-fi movie from the 80s.
Depending on your point of view, the content in Bum Simulator may come as a tremendous relief or a terrible disappointment. Waking up on a bed of cardboard boxes and barely able to speak, you suddenly come face to face with your guide in this world, a talking shopping trolley called Carl. Carl used to be human, or at least he thinks he was, having been transformed into his present state by the Evil Way Corporation, who also stole half of your brain and left you destitute. Between you must master the art of homelessness in Bumville and find out how to get your lives back. Firstly, you'll need to find food and drink, mostly by rummaging around in the bins. A nice bit of stale bread, sour milk and an apple core should keep you going initially. For anything more extravagant, you need money, and for that you'll need to learn how to beg. Draw a little sign on a piece of card to explain your unfortunate plight, or a penis and a simple demand for money as I have here, and you can shake your cup under the nose of some friendly and not so friendly members of the public who may have some spare change for you. As you walk the streets, or use Carl as your rickety vehicle to speed things up, you might be surprised to find out just how many activities you can take part in. Aside from meeting people who help you progress the main story, you'll have chance encounters with a number of largely criminally insane characters, rich and poor, who'll ask you for favours in return for more cash and materials for upgrades. You might simply need to piss on a set number of people in the street, or you could be delivering time bombs to various locations to destroy a local clown's competition. Just be careful, your antics may alert the police or will eventually chase you down in numbers across the map. There's a huge range of upgrades as you complete missions, and the map does an excellent job in highlighting where you are, where you need to be and who's about. Aside from riding Carl for extra pace, you'll eventually unlock fast travel to help you zip around town, returning to your very own homemade cardboard base every now and again, complete with defences against rogue bums and crude machines you can build to craft items with scrap found just about everywhere. Fitting pigeons with explosives is a particular highlight in combat. The whole game is surprisingly expansive and very player-friendly. The PS5 version I was playing runs well enough, and the whole thing is knowingly silly, addictive fun. Bum Simulator isn't going to trouble Grand Theft Auto 6 for sales, but if you're looking for something outrageous that will provide some regular laughs, you can do a lot worse at this price.
It was a fucking bomb! Curse that balloon fucker! Never trust a clown! Never!
In Sven, Completely Screwed, you play the titular farmyard hero as he shags his way through a number of fields across several regions, while trying to avoid the farmer and his dogs who don't take kindly to his persistent porking. From the get-go, you're on a timer with a set number of fluffy floozies to boink before aliens turn up and abduct the lot of them. But you can't always expect to simply stroll up to your woolly women and pot the pink unchallenged. A weather symbol above female heads will tell you what kind of mood they're in and how much work you'll have to do to win them over. You might only need to let out a cheeky wolf whistle to be granted access, but sometimes it'll help if you bring flowers. The quicker you are, the least likely you are to be mauled by a sheepdog or beaten with a farmer's crook. Of course, Sven being a worldly sheep, he knows his moves, and he's going to treat his ladies to a lot more than a simple doggy session. He's got the Karbar Sutra to hand, and as you go through the game you'll unlock more styles of fluffy fornication, which Sven will cycle through in turn with every new encounter. Levels do eventually become more complex, forcing Sven to hide in bushes and make quick escapes via subterranean waterways, balanced with a need to get stuffing before the timer runs out, and it becomes an amusing challenge to perform a run-by mounting as you're being pursued across the map. I really didn't expect to be playing this game any longer than it took to record some footage to show you all, but I must admit that the knowing sense of stupidity appealed to my inner 13-year-old, and I found myself wanting to get higher scores, unlock the trophies, and complete the Karbar Sutra's full Ram Roger repertoire. And if you think you've heard a weirder sentence than that today, please do write it in the comments below, because I'd love to know what it is. I can imagine that the hundreds of Kickstarter backers who are all named in the credits at the end of this game were hoping for a bit more than a janky Resident Evil with dildos. Lust for Darkness Dawn Edition is a watered-down version of the original release from a few years prior, designed to keep the censors happy and protect us poor gaming fools from wanking ourselves into oblivion, sacrificing goats, or whatever the hell it is these droning suits think we're going to do following exposure to a game like this. As Jonathan Moon, a struggling architect, you receive a note under your door one day purporting to have information about your wife Amanda, who went missing a year earlier. It seems Amanda went out for a pint of milk one day and ended up getting kidnapped for orgies with a sex cult. According to the leader of this cult, a 7-foot naked Burke in antlers and sporting the worst case of mangina I've ever seen, if you bum enough vacuous morons in a bloody great house, you might just open a permanent portal to the even more depraved world of Lustgar. Jonathan wastes no time on acting on his new information, taking his car to Yelverton Mansion, dodging the largely visually impaired security in the gardens and locating a masquerade mask and a spare invitation that he can use to join the party that night. And what a party it is. Wandering past a handful of clones knocked in banal conversation, you'll be invited to take a look over Hugh Hefner's art collection in certain rooms, solve the occasional simplistic puzzle, and look over the same bits of tat repeatedly as you try to piece together what's happened and how to stop it all. You can pause for a quick lap dance here and there, courtesy of one of the endlessly gyrating weirdos. You'll occasionally catch a glimpse of a ghostly figure you're supposed to follow to keep you moving in the right direction, and you'll locate more notes from your missing wife. Things get a bit more interesting once you discover the first of several wall-mounted spectral vaginas, each of which leads to a temporary excursion in Lustgar. At this point we're firmly in Aliens territory, complete with plenty of Geiger references, and you'll find a mask that allows you to see otherwise invisible bridges and entrances to new areas. As with every other mechanic in the game, however, nothing significant is done with this new feature, and it's only ever useful at certain very obvious junctures. Some brief chase scenes get the pulse up a little bit, but when you can basically outrun a demon by running around a bush like a skit from Police Squad, the tension does dissipate quickly. Sadly, and while Lust for Darkness Dawn Edition tries so hard to be edgy, sinister and mature, the end result is about as frightening as a 1980s Tupperware party. There might be enough here as a dirt cheap novelty for an hour or two with a partner or friends, taking in the increasingly obscene statues and unintentionally hilarious jank, but I wouldn't go out of your way to clear your diary.
Lust is all there is. Let me show it to you.
Hello, Michelle. How are you doing? It's me, Noah.
Hey?
Are you ready for some quality time with a quality man? Me, I'm ready for you, Michelle. Let me look pretty just for you. I'm ready, Michelle.
I'm in Love with Your Dead Grandmother isn't so much a game as it is a cry for help. I've seen some weird stuff on PC at times, but the fact that you can buy this for Sony and Microsoft's flagship consoles is a meeting I would have loved to have watched unfold. Before anyone worries too much, I'm pleased to say that the game never descends into the necrophilia that the title might suggest, but the overall experience is nonetheless regularly disturbing for various reasons throughout. In summary, our man Noah here, who looks like the suspect photo from every mass shooting in the 90s, has arranged to go on a presumably very blind date with Michelle. Just when you think this is the kind of catfishing that really should get Tinder shut down once and for all, it transpires that while Michelle's wheel is spinning, the hamster has died, and they might actually make a good couple. Michelle invites Noah back to her place for a euphemism, but just as they're getting comfortable, Noah suddenly finds himself distracted by a photo of Michelle's grandmother, Betty, and falls in love. Undeterred by the fact that Betty is dead, Noah starts imagining how he would have wooed this elderly minx into going on a date with him. He quickly devises a cunning set of questions to ask Michelle, building a picture that will ultimately set up one of the ugliest sessions of self-abuse in human history. What kind of men did Betty go for? Was she naughty? And did her toilet clog often? And then how should Noah have introduced himself? Or in other words, how could he have scammed his way into the house of a person who could well have been suffering with Alzheimer's? As a ghost? A dude from the 80s? Or should he pretend to be a dead husband? And that's pretty much your game in inverted commas. The acting, if that's what this is uniformly awful. Answers to the absurd questions don't really lead anywhere, and yet, if I was a modern school kid sat bored in a lesson, I know I'd be playing through I'm in love with your dead grandmother instead of trying to figure out algebra. And I have to give props to the guys here for having the balls to go through with this self-inflicted humiliation, and somehow getting the game released across most of the major formats. With other classics like By the Game I Have a Gun, John Fart Text Verse of Craziness, and Potato Sack Racing Simulator 2024 under their belt, it's surely only a matter of time before Sony makes an offer for the fledgling studio behind this game and turns it into yet another live service goldmine with plenty of saucy granny skins.
It's not my fault she's nothing compared to Betty.
Where are you, you son of a bitchy mummy who does poopy?
So what about you? What's the weirdest game you've seen or played that somehow made it onto the digital storefronts, whether it was any good or not? I would absolutely love to hear your stories in the comments below, and please leave me a like and don't forget to subscribe and ding your notification what's it if you've enjoyed the video. I will be back very soon with a lot more games, new and old, weird and wonderful. Cheers for now.
What's up? You're in the end of the game. Wow, who would have believed you went this far? So now, are you gonna quit or are you gonna finish this thing? If I was you, I was going to quit. It's only going downhill from here, so like, leave while you can.